should be live. Yes, you are live. Boom. Greetings, Arthur. A privilege. Like I said on Facebook, it's always an honor, a blessing, a privilege to have you here uh, exchanging words with me because it signifies a lot to me and I'm sure to many others listening. Having the privilege to hear you, you're a man of wisdom. Sometimes what you give is a lot, so I have to rewatch it and retake it in, and especially the old talk we did together. I rewatched a lot of them because sometimes it's just too much. Also, live and direct with you to take, I take it all in, but I need to introspect and use scrutiny, like you always tell me. So that's what I'm doing today. We're gonna keep going with our topic of a super intelligence, consciousness, God, the force, whatever you want to call it. But we use super consciousness.
Yeah. Everything that we are, that we really are.
Now there's a
This word.
concept, I call it a concept, maybe for a good reason, maybe for what you're gonna put light on it for us, but it's as above, so below. Okay. Now we're bringing astrology in, which has a lot of definitions, and not too many of those astrologers go out and observe. They just regurgitate the study that they have done. And when you study too much, you become like a stud, very rigid, right? So that's how I see the study, the whole thing of astrology. For myself, I always prefer keep the mystery about it, okay, because it's very mysterious, and to go along and just take in everything that people have read in book, and I don't know where that information come from too. It might be from the golden age or somewhere along the way where we were more glorious and in tune with the cosmos and all that. But if books have been burned in libraries and the tribe decimated and all the freaking trauma that they have brought on the land, like you say all the time, what the truth about the stars came on the land with the deceivers? Like I don't get it. That's the part I. And also when you say as above, so below comes as within, so without. So now I'm all freaking confused here. To
Well,
know where
you're
to
in.
start and where to take it in. Is it
Well,
me that's am I lost into concepts of believing that these things exist? Because if there's no good or bad, if there's only good, there's no bad, then there's something in as above, so below, and as within, so without that is missing somewhere. So, Arthur, put light on the whole topic, please.
well, the duality that you're describing are cults. Um, Look, I in through the epiphanies and the 2 week sleep that I had back in 2012, and I won't go through all that. That's in other videos. And through that determination that I had when I was 14, 15, seeking truth and wanting to know truth, and that was the dream that I lived for. And this all came out of the back of horror, horror life, childhood life, trauma, and discovering sexual abuse, all that later on. But I have I use a particular process that when something comes towards me, I use scrutiny, contemplation, and I work out fiction, life. I just work out which is which. And I'm able to do that very quickly now, and that helps me to assimilate. Now, this doesn't mean that everything I'm saying is the truth, because I cannot define truth for anybody. I can only share what the perception that this man has. Astrology to me is a cult. It's the way I perceive it from the direct sensory experiences that I've had. All the stars are our ancestors. They're living consciousness. This is not a constructed world where we're looking through intellectual property to define what we're observing of the celestial space, the celestial bodies, etc. There is no astrology that way to me. It doesn't exist. The only reason that it appears to exist is because there's more than one of us in the storytelling of the script of astrology, directing our energy and or belief into them, which sets up the stage for astrology to be performed amongst those who've accepted it. And so that through the generations, that cult has evolved and become quite powerful. The same as numerology, even quantum physics. Now, you cannot go to astrology and talk to astrology. Right? These are the things that you've got to get, I use to get clear about. You can only go to a man who talks about astrology. It doesn't matter what the signs are and what they refer to as symbols or what movements of all that in the sky, and which house something is in and all that sort of stuff. It's just, you got to remember this. They are just alphabet thoughts in our head with images describing these, what I consider to be unnatural phenomena. They are unnatural. Who we really are, the godliness of us, is greater than all of this. But we are so immersed, we have become so submerged into so many cultish modalities that we are armed literally to the teeth with constructs and concepts derived from all these different cults. Now, government is a cult. The law, the rule of law, is a cult. Conspiracy theory is a cult. Disclosure is a cult. And it's all derived from the occultic practices by those who created them, to use them to ensnare others into them. And then when they make the changes, they have to move the sheeple from one cult, open the gate, give them the freedom from that cult, and enter them into another cult where the gates close and the other gates close. And now they're trapped in another cult modality, in another mindset. Now, that's how I look at it. This is just me. I don't claim all this to be true. I just, from my own perception, I cannot talk to astrology. I can only talk to men acting as astrology or numerology or government or spirituality or consciousness or whatever. It wouldn't matter what is being discussed. You get more than one involved, it becomes cultish. But already one of us who's caught in the thinking of whatever we have conceived, what we've imagined, becomes a cult to ourselves. We can be the only one thinking, and we're recalling the imagery of those constructs and concepts that are now in the memory bank of that artificial personality we call the ego. And we're recalling it. Now, just to go back to this, it's like what I said yesterday about Alice in Wonderland. We have little Mary, a man, a flesh and blood man like you and me, and the rest who watch these videos. And then we have the concepts and the constructs of Alice and Wonderland that comes with all the intellectual property of those scripts and storytelling. Now, a child sitting on the lap of a mother or father reading the book of Alice in Wonderland while the child is observing the pictures is already being programmed into the cult of Alice in Wonderland. Now, at all times, no matter how far little Mary takes the role-playing, the play, because we're all playing, it's a game. We play in the scripts of astrology, in the scripts of numerology, in the scripts of the occult. Now, you mentioned the word mystery. To me, there is no mystery. It's all bullshit. There never has been a mystery. All that has been is the gap between the truth of our true superintelligence and the deep sleep that we are in, and how far we've fallen from that direct experience. Now, if you imagine this, a child brought up in nature, undefined, not exposed to all the scripts of the cults, of all these things, doesn't know ABC 1, 2, 3. It's just in nature. It is in the here and now, consistently experiencing the superintelligence of life forms that is coming at the child in every instance. And there's some places the child will focus in on a various life form to observe it more and gather more intelligence about the life form that's sharing that knowledge, that intention, because the creator, the living creator that embodied all the intentions in every living thing, we are accessing that. Now, when we are accessing nature, we're accessing God. When we're accessing the intelligence of nature, we're accessing the intentions of the Creator that we call God. Now, this God is not a fiction. It's not a cult that's been defined to us through Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism or any other ism, because all that is fiction. But the direct sensory experience that the child has in the here and now, instant by instant, is not relying on any memory. It's stored in the storehouse of all those fictions, all those artificial, unnatural feelings. It's in the experience of the feelings as it's happening and gathering all the information in the here and now as it's needed. And then it may move to another life form and observe that. And so that has now been released. It's not forgotten, but it's just accessing it here and now, right? So there is no recollection of any scripts or storytellings within a cultish modality that the child is relying on that explains a perception of reality that was shaped by another man or woman who got at the child in the first instance. So what is really critical here, this is again only for this man's perception, we are so trapped in storytelling. And now this is all the fragmentations of the shattered reality touched on yesterday. We watch the Joe Rogan show or whatever theme, like I saw the Mel Gibson one going on not long ago. And then you have another one, and then you have another show, and then you'll have something about Donald Trump, and then you'll have something about Elon Musk. And we joined on X to have to see what we can do in X for the time being. We're just seeing one after the other, after the other, after the other, just like on your Facebook wall, you've got this and this and this. There's so many scripts and storytelling. Everyone's a cult. And all of them are offering temptation to get hooked into the cultish thinking. All this time you remain deep asleep, gone, just gone. But all the time you're imagining that you're not, that you are intelligent, that we are awakened, but we're not. And have a good look around you because you've got the system wherever you go. It shows you the truth of where you are trapped. Because if you were not trapped, you would not be in the system. We would not be in the system. Embroiled in all the fiction that's entertaining us, because this is entertainment. I mean, all these things that are coming at us through internet and television and media and books and education is entertainment. Entertainment. You want to look at the mente, the controlling of the mind of man. So, in a nutshell, the only truth is the direct sensory experience in the here and now that we are having with life itself, where we are communing with the intelligence, the superintelligence of the Creator, coming into contact naturally, not like we're going aliens through space to another planet to come in contact with some alien being. We are accessing that superintelligence as it's inspired, as it's required, of our own volition, our own free will. And gathering that information that helps to expand the superintelligence of what we are, provided to us by all our ancestors pre the fall into fiction. So the thing is that a man started this whole thing, was a man. What's behind all the cults is a man. Astrology is man-made. Numerology is man-made. Everything to do about God is man-made. Anything that's got to do with alphabets, letters, Hebrew, wouldn't matter what Latin, Greek, wouldn't matter what it is, even down to hieroglyphics and mathematics and geometry is man-made. It ain't in nature. You can't go and talk to mathematics in nature. You can only go to the default by proxy of the storehouse of the brainwashing we've been endured that gave us a sense of communion with what we're observing of nature, as in mathematics or quantum physics or alphabets are describing words about what that experience is. But all of it is fiction because we're not actually directly communing in the here and now of life itself. We're actually at the effect of recalling other men and women who are now in our heads telling us how to think and feel, that we've accepted as our perception of reality. Because the whole of our perception of reality is created by other men and women. It's like that mosh pit I was saying yesterday of men and women inside our head. And that's all the system is. Other men and women inside our head. All those voices in our head. Nothing to do with life itself and the true consciousness of who we were meant to be and have. Nothing. So
Arthur, there's no such thing as the word of God.
no.
Because we hear that a lot. Oh, it's the word of God.
There's been a gradualism, like a gradual descent into the hell of the system. And through the generations. So we have to be able to use common sense, the sense that's common to nature and life, to be able to step outside of all the fallen state to perceive the truth of what has been done to us and our ancestors during the time we've been entertained in the system with all its cults. See, I was told I was Greek, right? That's a cult. The land does not teach us to be a cult. The land doesn't teach us to be Greek or Australian. The land doesn't teach us to be atheists. It doesn't teach us that there's aliens out there. Only another man does that. So whatever we are experiencing where something has been defined to us as alien, otherworldly, some more holy power, I say this sincerely, it is a load of absolute bullshit. It's just another man influencing you. All the UFOs have been created by man. All the underground bases are created by man. Whatever is behind the moon that they come on about is man-made. Whatever's on Mars is man-made. Because you are looking through, it's like you call it the StreamYard. This is this thing called the StreamYard that we're talking through, that program. We're actually in the StreamYard of storytelling, of other men and women in our heads right now. Because we've been exposed to books, we've been exposed to movies, we've been exposed to videos, we've been exposed to conversations and chats from so young that we are defaulting to that ego of that storehouse of all these unnatural feelings to reason with aliens, spacecraft that no one understands what the spacecraft is, or crop circles that you talk about. It's all man-made. There is no experience that isn't man-made. We are always at the effect of man, meaning who we really are is the co-creation of God. We are the co-creation of God, but we have fallen and misused our true superintelligence. In fact, as the intelligence we have now is so deeply corrupted that we glorify metal and plastics and synthetics and artificial intelligence, and we glorify it as something that is amazing. It is a load of bullshit. What we are really looking at is death and destruction, and our willingness to not want to look at the bigger picture of our complicity in supporting it. Even as you and I talk now on the internet, using all this technology, we are complicit. We are guilty of supporting death and destruction to life, to the superintelligence of life that we are. Because every living thing that we're working with that's fiction has no natural place in life itself. Nothing of life needs it to exist so they can exist. There is no purpose whatsoever. There's no mystery to any of this. It's the delusion of people who have been so hoodwinked from so young that they fall into the occults and follow particular occultic pathways where all the esoterics are streaming out of, because there's many forms of the esoterics, astrology, numerology, there's many derivatives of these kind of cultish modalities. There's so many of them with titles. Oh, I'm one of these. I'm a Rosicrucian. I'm a third degree Freemason. It's all crap. The whole system, from the highest of the Roman Catholic Church, the Jesuits, the Greek Church, the Church of England, right through the aristocracy and all that, it's all nothing. Nothing. It doesn't exist, but you've been conned into believing that it does, and that it has an effect on your life. It has a purpose. that you need them to provide you with order to the chaos of your own misconception, because you've forgotten who you really are. If you knew who you really are, you wouldn't need another man to tell you anything about anything ever. You would need to be governed by another man because you know the true power of your real life. And you would push back anything that tried to intrude into that domain of your real life. So all these things are there to massage the illusion of our fallen state, of our ego, so that while we are entertained with astrology, we're busy being subjects as slaves in labor for those behind who created astrology, who created the cults that we're caught up in nationality, in gender, and all these things, because we are being used and abused, laboring away at the fiction to exist and subexist and to be able to go from one day to the next, to the next, to the next. At all times, we're gone, we're deep asleep, we don't even know who the hell we are anymore or what we are. So to me, it's very simple. Open your eyes to the truth. We are living in hell. All this stuff about Elon's on about with, traveling to Mars is insanity. There is no planet. Planets do not exist. The scripts and the storytelling that have defined it for you over so many years of exposure, where your attachment to the belief of that cult makes you emotionally bonded to it, where you're thinking, yes, we're going to go and create another civilization on Mars. In the meantime, we're capitulating the real one that we are part of and don't want to take responsibility to stop it and fix it here and now with our true power. Our true power, who we really are, which is not played out as a cult where we must unite and all become one, that we must, that is also rubbish. It just comes back to when you know who you really are, when you come back to the true good heart and all its virtues. That is what life and everything about nature is built out of, which is that true superintelligence of the creator, the living creator, which is undefined. You can't define it. It's a unique thing for each of us. Because that uniqueness, originality is expressed instant by instant for each of us. Right? So we can't put ourselves inside boxes and say, this is Arthur and this is what Arthur's about, and da 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 da. And that goes for you and all the rest of us. We don't do that. We just start living. Like, you don't get a dog who comes up and talks to you and explains everything about the dog before you can experience what the dog's doing. The dog doesn't just go through a whole explanation. The dog is just being what it is. You don't need to take a dog to wherever for the dog to learn what it is to be a dog. It's already built into the dog if we don't interfere with the dog. And the good heart will work through the dog, and it will know who we are and what we are. And that uniqueness, originality of the dog will always be there. So it's the same thing with a child. You don't take a child to a tree and explain everything about the tree to the child before the child can experience what it is. You don't do that. It's already evident to the child if we don't interfere. But because we think that we're bad parents, this is all part of the cultish thinking. We think, how are we going to communicate? How are we going to be able to be a good people to our children and give them the foundations of what they need? You see, it comes from doubt. It comes from uncertainty. It comes from confusion. And this has been laid through generations of this fallen, misled state where we think we're doing the right thing when we are not. We're not. We're not doing the right thing at all. We're just turning children into the machines of the cult that we want them to be part of, that serves us with everything we need. So we go to work to make money because we need 10,000s and thousands of other people, like that one pen I was talking about yesterday, to provide all the good things we want of the system. And we comatose our children inside suburbia or an apartment block or a farm. So they are neutered to seeing with their open eyes the truth of the devastation and the harm that's caused. Now, we don't know all these families. We don't know all the workers and what their life conditions are, what they're going through from one day to the next, and all the uncertainty and fear and distrust and chaos and all that. from one paycheck to the next paycheck, and all the stress and traumas that go on in their private lives, and what's happening to their relationships and their families, and that, this insidious penetration, the thing of the snake around the tree, Adam and Eve, that snake is a man, the penetration, it has gone so deep into all of us, because that tree is the forbidden tree. What's forbidden is explanation, instruction, education, suggestion, indoctrination, etc. We're never meant to do any of it. We are never meant to enter into the domain of another life to define it for them. If we get back to the true power who we are, we do not do it anymore. We stop it. And that's why we're doing the kingdom dream here. This is why we're doing this, because we know we are compromised. We can see the bigger picture of what's been done to us. We can see the complicity of our own hypocrisy, because we are hypocrites. I'm a hypocrite. What I talk about and how I live, it goes against each other. But, I'm still committed that we can break away from this gradually and start fixing and not recreating this mistake that's led to so much devastation, to the point that the whole of life is on the edge of absolute annihilation, of just billions of consumers and materialism involved in cults, being those thousands and thousands of people that have to produce the one pen.
Now, if we talk about divine forces also in super consciousness intelligence, we can't omit omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Now, are we supposed to know everything? Like I always
We already do. It's built into everything that makes up what we call the original DNA and everything, or the RNA, whatever you want to call it. I mean, they're all words, but it's not a mystery, because the truth is already evident as we appear in the womb. We've moved from water to the womb. When we go through life and what we call pass away, we're still in the water. We've never left the water. We're still in the water of life. We came from the water of life, we've lived through the water of life, and we pass through the water of life, because that water of life carries the super intelligence of everything, of every man that ever was, that lived from that super intelligence, where this life never began. There's never been a beginning to life or an end to life. This has always existed. The true creation has always existed. They say in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. And they talk about the 7 days. In the first day,
yeah.
They're talking about the system. They're talking about the system, not life.
The birth of the system.
Yeah. We're talking about the beginning of men getting inside our heads, so explaining what reality is to us. That's the battle that you've had, that I've had. How to undo all this thinking of all these unnatural feelings, because thoughts are feelings. Really, when the end comes to all this, we don't have thoughts anymore. We just recognize feelings. And we see all the distortion of all these feelings that we talk about intellectually through thoughts, through the intellect. The intellect is a fiction. The mind is a fiction. They're not real. Because the true and super intelligence is embodied in all of life that we are part of. And we breathe it in and we breathe it out. And as we need access, we access, and it's there as we need it. Faster than the speed of thought. It's there instantly. It's beyond even the speed of instant. We live as we breathe. What is behind the breath every instant as we're thinking in the system, in the cults of those enslaved modalities that we work for and labor in, regardless of what's entertaining us through the cult, because the cult keeps us entertained. The reality is we are breathing here and now as that eternal life that's been provided by everything that produces what we call air and water and nitrogen and everything else, and carbon and the whole works. If we don't interfere, we have access. So our ancestors, who are part of that super intelligence, again, we're just using words to describe it, are the stars you're looking at, are the clusters. They're soul groups. They're not some physical object that's not part of reality, because reality is life itself. It's part of life. So we can commune with our ancestors So, for example, when, like in a tribe, and a grandfather passes away and passed on the table that he built with an intention for that table, and the father already knows what the purpose, the child has been brought up by the father, the grandson, the child can access the information of the table, and while it's observing the table, it's communing with the star of the grandfather. It's overlighted the life of the child of what we call standing on earth. But there is no separation between earth and the stars. It is life. And that's what God is, life. So when we talk about consciousness, we're talking about life. When we talk about anything, it's life. The trouble is, so much of what we are talking about life is now distorted life. And we're so busy performing all the labor for these fictions that we've forgotten who we really are. We don't have any time to sit and just, and just allow the superintelligence to come in and through.
So you're talking also about the ability that we can have to create synchronicity in real time. If you say there's only the here and now, and we can tap into that super consciousness intelligence, then we can sync event in our life in real time. Like forget the present, the future or the past. Focus on the present, and you can access that super consciousness. Like it's so fucked up. I don't know how to explain it.
No, you are. You're doing a great job.
It's beyond everything I ever talk about. Probably that what we're bringing on tonight because we're going deep.
Well, the thing is, it's all in the intention. As you intend something, it's already happening for you. So that syncing is happening faster than the speed of thought. It's incredibly.
That's what I'm saying.
Once the thing is, what stuffs things up is we carry the doubt behind it. We carry the uncertainty, the confusion. Now we may form a fake front and use pride and other things to give the impression that we are okay. When people ask, how are you? Go, yeah, I'm okay. We're good. We're doing all right.
Yeah.
When really they're just drowning, because very few people really want to admit exactly how it really is for them. Because that's a sign that they've been taught to believe that's weakness when it's not. The truth is that we should give the opportunity to others so they can give them a reason to be inspired by, I'd like to contribute to that situation, to make a difference to that situation, without pleading and begging and all the other stuff. This is how I formed the Kingdom Dream. This is how we're on this land now. This is what this has been all about. And we've had people on the way who've lost the plot, got psychotic, have lost the purpose because they got back into the storehouse of all that trauma, which plays out in their private life and with their families and with their whatever they're doing in their system life and their system careers. And it is so difficult to see someone break away from the cult. They just will fight to the grim death to hold on to the psychosis of the cult that they're trapped in. So I've had so many of these people come after me and accuse me of things that I've not had anything to do with. And they use it to superimpose all that trauma on me, thinking that I am the source of their difficulties when I don't have anything to do with it, never have. Because I communicate and share these insights, and because they want to fix, they want me to fix them. And the fact is they don't feel like they're being fixed because I'm not going to fix anybody, because that's taking away their free will. That makes me someone, coming along magically just going to shift it all. When really the responsibility for each of us to allow them to fix themselves if they want to, and we provide whatever we can provide, as in healthy food, the real natural food, and the true love and the co-creation, that ambience of all those virtues, the good heart that we call family and extended community, and you can be in amongst all that, which can help you to defrost from this ice cold feelings of psychosis and psychotic behavior, and where all this insanity is played out in the higher places of the system itself, because they're all psychotic. Anyone standing in authority over another man is psychotic, because they can never prove that they actually have an authority. All they got is the scams of trying to manipulate others into giving away that authority to them, because they've been never given full disclosure from young enough and to show them how this game works, so they could break away from that mental prisons, if you want to call it, because they are. That's what fiction is. It's a mental prison. So, your synchronicity is fine through your intention if it's inspired by the good heart and its virtues. Now, you'll notice I'm not defining a cult for you by saying that. I'm just generalizing because you are unique and original, and that needs to be cherished and respected. So all we can do is have a commonality that we, in my case, and Fiona, we live for the kingdom dream, where we're amongst other brothers and sisters who take that full responsibility to stop playing out that psychosis, to stop playing out all those emotional rackets, to stop playing out all the drama queens, to stop playing out Joe Rogan and David Icke and all the others that come and go with all the scripts in our heads about reptilian shapeshifters and God knows what goes on out there. We don't need that form of entertainment, because the greatest entertainment of all is the forest, the trees, the nature, the birds, the bees, the butterflies, working with the ground and being creative, having creative interests where we're doing no harm and we're nurturing and expanding life, and where the body is laid to rest amongst it, and where the great-grandchildren can commune with us, because we're the stars overlighting the night, what we call the night sky, or the sky, as they are contemplating and observing whatever it is they're looking at and building up that super intelligence. It's amazing. Yeah, sure, you might have to watch this video 2-3 times to grasp how simple this really is, but it may sound convoluted in the way I'm describing it all, but it's not. There is nothing in the system or any of the mediums of the system, including this medium, that's going to deliver the truth to you. All we can do is provide some kind of sense of what isn't the truth, to help people to see what is not reality, and for them to work out, God, I realize I've got to connect to the senses and start sensing the superintelligence, where I gain access to the real life, where the natural joy comes out of, where the natural happiness comes out, where the natural freedom comes out, because they're not a journey. You don't journey towards these things, because that's fiction too. So the greatest, I'm making up words here, one of the greatest challenges, for example, to describe this, is like the word mortgage, the death certificate.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what is behind mortgage, or behind rent, or behind lease or contract? Right? All of it's fiction. What really is going on? We are a man on the land right now. We have life that's super intelligent all around us, or what remains of it that we haven't destroyed. And we are driven by doubt, uncertainty, distrust. Why? Because I have to go to work. I have to fiction and labor in the fiction to produce fictional dollars to service the mortgage that gives me a roof over my head and allows me to put food on the table, under the roof over the head, on the land that I stand, when I've always been a true free man all this time, but I've forgotten it. And all the interplaying by all the authorities and representatives is working on your doubt and your confusion. With it, all the insecurities and the fears, and you think that, well, we need to have order. That order is not natural. Immense suffering goes on in kind of that order. The chaos that has been created that has you perform like this in a mortgage. I need a mortgage. I need to have, the American dream, the Australian dream. I'm going to work my ass off and pay for 3 houses to have one, or 4 houses to have one. And plus, in the meantime, our children got conscripted to go to war because there's others out there who decided we should play the game of war. And then on top of that, we got all the other horrible things that are coming at us to do with coronavirus, and all the anti-vax. You don't find any of this in nature. No, this is part of the superintelligence. So it plays on your doubt. It plays on your confusion. It plays on your fear. It plays on all these unnatural things where the storehouse of the ego holds it all. And you believe that's what you are part of. You're bonded to that. You've given a certificate to the name of that person where you believe this is who you are. So when you write your name and sign your signature and all that, you're saying this is who I am. but all of it was manufactured by others. And they're in the voices in your head telling you who you are, what you are. You're not free on the land. You're a slave. All the years you work as a good citizen and you go and vote in election, you are a slave. You have masters above you. And this is the Roman cult with this Roman civil law. It goes back to ancient Greece, where all this came from. And I mentioned this in other videos. Ancient Greece was Egypt. Egypt was ancient Greece. Because the occults of the Western world, of these people, is what it was. And all the memories and the history of all that stuff going back was controlled by them. Because they control and meddle with all the supply lines of knowledge coming out of the mysteries of whether it's Babylon or whether you want to call it Christianity or Mohammedanism and all the history books and everything written. Remember, only tiny few people can read and write. Very few people could read and write. Only the owners of the castles, the high priesthoods, the aristocrats, landlords, land barons, scribes, lackeys could read and write. And they represented the tiny, tiny few people. 20 per, probably like 20 per 1 million or something, if that. So we are in scripts. We've been attached to unnatural feelings we call confusion, we call uncertainty, distrust, because that's why we accept mortgage, rent, lease. And then there's that huge fear porn behind it if you don't comply. Because it shows you there's another man who's going to execute their willpower on you because they're trying to control you between the ears. So if the entertainment no longer works, the wearing thing, they'll come at you other ways. Now, I've had vast forces thrown at this man. I'm not joking. They do it from remotely. They try and do it. They try and ghost everything I talk about. They try to distort everything. Even the video that I put up, the first time I put up what we did yesterday, was all corrupted.
Yeah.
It wasn't corrupted when I had the copy. It got corrupted. Now, I've had people say, have written to me, and I've discovered this and known it, that a lot of our YouTube videos are slowing down or going out of sync. Or garbled noises and signals and frequencies. There's all kinds of distortion because they don't want people to feel, oh, there's nothing here. It's all crap. Let's just move on, find something else. We don't want to hear this man, what this man's talking about. So, we've been ghosted on Facebook, like the meddling, and I've seen it in X, that it's like there's a group of people, like you see people inside this building and they're controlling drones and they're doing military bombing from another country, and they're controlling the drone. They can drop weapons and whatever else, do surveillance. Well, it's the same as this intelligence network. They come into your life through these cameras and through the microphone. They come into your Facebook. They come into everything, and they will even have their own intelligence operator to come and meddle with it to try to screw people's thinking, because they don't want people to feel that there's any truth behind someone like this man. So they'll entertain you so that you feel your only form of power is to post another insight that someone else has written. That doesn't change anything. You're still a bloody slave. You're still intellectually screwed up in their world, even though we're posting and reposting and reposting and reposting. But when someone steps away from all that entertainment and becomes the real man, it becomes a massive threat because they don't want precedence. They don't want any precedents that could undo the outcomes that they work for. So they've got to intervene to do what they can to alter from assassination, introducing chemicals to cause cancer and other things to try and kill them. They've done this to this man. I know I was poisoned. I know who it was who did it. And my body's fought it off, still fighting it off. I could tell you all kinds of stuff when my wife was kidnapped. And I've had some, I could go on and on about the amount of death threats and threats to our children being taken away from us over the Love for Life work, from 2005 onwards. The people door knocking, tapping windows late at night, black cars, and no joking, the black cars. We've had assassination attempts on me. Why I'm saying all this is not to glorify. It's just to point out to you, you are not in the real world of your true super intelligence. You're just being entertained and lulled. It doesn't matter what it is you're reading and watching. Even when you're watching me, if you're not conscious of what's going on, you will be even entertained by us on the Truman Show. And that keeps you lulled and keeps you distracted. So, oh, okay, we're just in Arthur and Johnny. Okay, who's on next? Okay, let's watch the next one. And we'll watch the next one. It's like eating, you know. I'm hungry. I've got to get up, got to get something to eat and sit down. Oh, I'm hungry. I've got to sit down and eat again. Oh, I'm hungry. We get so caught up in it. And our good heart that we feel is there. But because we have all these other distorted feelings that are not of the good heart, they're compromised feelings, we end up with this mishmash of what we call chaos. And the occultists manipulate this. These are just men and women just like you and I. And they do what they can through whatever medium that comes between your ears to mess in here so that all the feelings that are natural can play out. And we have a natural tendency to want to for order, for security, for stability, not realizing that what's driving us in the first instance was all this chaos, all this uncertainty, distrust that leads us to mortgages, and we've got to work for fiction. Do you know that nothing of life needs fiction to exist? We don't need to go to work for nature to exist. We don't need to do anything to make money for nature to do what it's doing already and been doing for eternity, for eternal life. We're only in a small window of a few hundred years of this bullshit. Sure, we went from overt slavery to covert slavery. The Old Testament was overt, and it transitioned to the New Testament to covert. So we went from Moses and all the Israelites and Israel and all this, no disrespect to what they call themselves Jews. There's no disrespect to man. I love all of man. But the whole his story created by the occults was to transition from overt slavery of Pharaoh to the covert slavery of Caesar, because Caesar and Pharaoh are one and the same. And that Egypt was ancient Greece, and Rome is ancient Greece, and all the same occultic people through the Freemasonic world and all those orders are the same people through the bloodlines till today. And when you're seeing Joe Rogan and David and all these people, they are their workers. Now, whether they have, now you'll ever see them interview me? Will you ever have someone like me being put on their show? Do you want to talk to them? Of course not, because I'm not going to just sit there and listen to what they're saying. I'll be asking questions and pursuing it, and they know that. If what I'm saying is a lie and what I'm going on about are lies and lies and lies, well, prove it. Back it up. Don't just give me a belief system or an opinion. Give me the substance that we can experience of that truth. So it's evident. And you find they can't, because you can't do that with fiction. All you have is a man who talks about it and explains it.
So what do you say also to people that are focused on the reincarnation? Because it's a big topic too. I've heard about it a lot.
Well, you know my thoughts on this, and I don't have all the answers, but you know my thoughts are the
Yeah, I want to have a
reincarnation
perspective on this.
is an occultic practice of those souls trapped in, because they harvest you and they continue to harvest you after you've passed away within the cults that you're trapped in, controlled by the occultists that still oversee that cult that you're still caught up in. If your head is spinning with just cultish thinking, and you've never created the true relation to the superintelligence, you'll be trapped in the white light of their creation, of their imagining, and you'll be reincarnated. Excuse me. I lost my
So
screen.
is that why the world do not change? Because the people that are coming back recycling their nonsense here on Earth.
I mean, these are just words. You got what, you know, I'm not saying any of this to be how it should be, but we have to use words to try and explain what it is, you know. But you've got young souls. There are a lot of souls that have been created through sex and being horny and what they wanted more government handouts, Centrelink money. You know, there are children created through rape and you know, all kinds of sexual abuse. And there are so many children who have never been dreamt for. We are saturated in a world of children that have been artificially inseminated. You know, there the idea of creating children to prop up. Look, to me, it's quite sinister, this stuff. It's very sick. Semiramis, which is the Statue of Liberty, or which is Diana, which is what stands over New York, the entrance to New York, is a woman. You look carefully at all the symbolism, you'll notice it's got scripts, and it wears a crown. It's got thorns, and it's not thorn, but it's got the rays of what they think is the sun, because the greatest weapon the occultists have are women, because they really believe they're doing the right thing when they create children in the system. And they believe they're going to raise them up, and they don't realize that the woman was defined about everything what a woman is. They're never connected with the superintelligence that inspires the naturalness of what it is of life, because really it's androgynous. I mean, when I experienced the Creator back in the fiction of time of 1979, and then the voice of the Creator that spoke with me in 2006, January 2006. I mean, just there's all. It was androgynous when it appeared to me. It wasn't male or female. And I think we are naturally androgynous, but there's been so much white anti. Just same with communism and socialism and all the white ant community, the natural community things that we are all part of. Tribes, natural tribes, not defined, undefined. The same thing they've done with using white anting and occultic practices to desensitize us, so that we think, oh, I'm a woman, I'm a female, this is how a woman dresses, this is how I should look, these are my characteristics, I wear high heel shoes and I wear skirts, and it goes on and on and on. The amount of persuasion by the occults through the people who've been caught up in those cults, who put on that peer pressure to the woman, who then dreams for a child. And all that time that everything the woman's thinking is coming from the occults, from all the scripts, it's producing a child. Guess who has the power over that child? The occultists from the highest places who started it all in the first instance. So they can actually use women to breed children, to create a slave labor force, an ongoing generational slave labor force, where the children have been brought up to be entertained through race, culture, creed, titles, standings, and it goes on into interests and sport and fashion and everything else, including recreational drugs and alcohol and all the other things that just keeps us dumbed down and stupid and disconnected. And we get caught up in different modalities thinking, oh, this is something I can express who I am through. But it was all manifested by other people. The whole purpose of the Statue of Liberty, which is probably the tallest modern man-made thing ever made in the modern age, it's bloody enormous, shows you how powerful a woman is, because they are shaping us. They shape us, and we support it.
Is that why
this is not, can I just finish?
Yeah.
This is not anti-women. This is not about anything to do with anti-women. I love women. But this is what's going on, and we support it. We are just as complicit in supporting this. So to get into the biggest pictures of our superintelligence, we have to undo all the influences that have come at us that's defined who we are. So by creating, David Bowie, and I really enjoyed David Bowie and grew up with his, with that androgynous vibe that he created, and so did, what's his name out of Roxy Music, and just goes on. There's so many different things that were, played out. I didn't realize growing up that that's what we were being assimilated, gradually accepting an artificial form of who we really are, because really we're not male or female. We're androgynous. We're man. We're just man. Capital M, capital A, capital M. We are man, a living consciousness of superintelligence that's been got at and been manipulated, and we've fallen down. We went from what we originally would have been 30-something foot tall, where everything was really big, pre the beginning of all these disasters, to what we've done now, where we've descended and descended and fallen and fallen and fallen. And now, like I'm only 5'8", whatever. My great-great-great ancestors, pre-all would have been 30 foot. And all the animals. And you'll see that because the oxygen was much richer, the pollen was more richer, and we lived more down in what we now call the Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, all these other places. Because that's where all the remains of all the cities are. Everything of that first insane thing called civilization. And they try to create all kinds of distractions. That over there, that's Argentina. That if that happened today, and we want to alter to today's world, they'll say, after a devastation, oh, that's Argentina. They were 40,000 years ago. Oh, that's Australia. They were 100,000 years ago. Oh, that's America. They were only 5,000 years ago. That's whatever that. And they try to create all these things to try to break us up and think that that somehow all of this is true. It's all bullshit. When we connect with our senses, you start seeing things so damn differently. It's incredible. This is what's happened with me, which is where all the insights come from that I share. But I'm not here to turn you into a cult following me. If I can derail the tracks for a while for you to stop and think about what the hell's going on with your life, the greatest thing that you can do is to build a village with other people and start living in a village where we wake up and go to bed, creating all our energy for that village, so that the children in our lives are all getting back to that super intelligence lifestyle, the natural one, and we're undoing it. All the time we're sitting there talking and talking and talking and talking and going through all the videos all the years you and I have been doing, and others does nothing, because we're actually not living the real dream. We're still practicing 24/7, being dumbed down and stupid. Really, I'm not, and that's being sincere. I'm not trying to. So all these people running around think they're conscious, they're idiots. They don't realize it. No disrespect to who they really are. Nobody's conscious. If you're in the system, you cannot be conscious if you're in the system. It's rare to find someone who's had that kind of awakening and still be in the system. You might get people like ourselves who want to, we go back, it's like a dark cave. We go into the dark cave, bring the torches in, might it all up, so others might see the light of the truth about these. And they might want to then walk out of that bloody dark cave and get back into the real life of a community village. Because that's where the real power is. I mean, the truth is, this is the greatest threat to these people, because what was the first thing they did when they came to invade? They came upon tribes living in paradise everywhere and invaded through multiple ways. So we have to go back before the fall into civilization, before this conscripted world that we were drafted into. Way back. We've got to go back before the fall to find the remedy. And the remedy is local village life, local community village life amongst the paradise of nature, where all of us are custodians who care, and to bring that beauty of life back, where nobody owns anything. There's nothing, what's in it for me anymore. All this emotional stuff doesn't play out. We don't play out all the doubt and the uncertainty and distrust. Oh, mine. I'm going to put $1 million into your kingdom dream, but I want that spot over there. I burnt those people off. I burnt them off. No disrespect.
Yeah. What about the fact you were mentioning women being powerful? We know that. Now man has defined the earth as Mama Earth, and also the sea as the mother, because in French, the sea is the mère. Mère is mother. So the sea is feminine, the land is feminine, and then you have the moon that is feminine too. And in feminine, you have 9 at the end. 9, very divine, true number. I think in Hebrew or something. Anyway,
the
what
number
about
9?
all this?
Number 9 doesn't exist. Let's go and talk to number 9. Hello, number 9.
Yeah.
Please come forward, number 9. Can we talk to you, please? We'd like to know everything about what you have to share of the super intelligence that you are. You'll get nothing. You're going to get another man who put number 9 in your head and the fake knowledge that comes with number 9. So then you add to that by all the other scripts through the generations, you're going to end up being seduced into the occultic thinking, where instead of light and dark, you may have number 9 and number 1. You may have first and last. You may have tall and short. You may have fat and thin. It's all crap, because if you step outside of the duality, you are breaking away from the entertainment that locks you inside the cult, where you play out these scripts. Because you see, you get this. We have the power to project whatever it is that we are imagining. And when you have more than one who believe in it, we can start to validate each other and saying, well, this is the truth. And we can start, and this can go into hundreds and thousands and millions of us, and be deceived into thinking that this is the truth when it's not.
When it's
It
pure
never has been,
insanity.
because your real life, who you really are, has got nothing to do with any of this stuff. Your real life has got no man inside your head, ever. If you can't get away from that and get outside of all of that, you won't know who you are regardless of how much you fake it. You'll never know. Hence
So
the
what?
reincarnation, and you'll be trapped, and you'll be harvested and used and abused. A lot of people die like that. They die soulless because they don't know who they are. They're just words, soulless, all that stuff. But that's how I perceive it. Am I a crazy man? Probably. Am I a madman? Probably. Am I wrong? Probably. Who am I to say?
Is that
Because I
why
can't tell
we
you.
is that why we want so much to devil up awareness?
Yeah,
I went with
because,
the word devil up awareness because I
just
think
because,
that's what it brings you in. Once you want to seek awareness and stuff, it brings you just into
look,
more nonsense.
yeah, exactly. Because, see, these occultists invaded behind the men and women that were turned into drones to become the armies, where they brought on boats and whatever, where they traveled across land. These armies, these forces, these navies, they went in to devastate, right, or to gradually assimilate using their, there's so many different kinds of people they brought in, whether it's people researching the land or researching the landscape, or, there's the botanists, the surveyors, all this sort of stuff. But the thing, when you get past all this and realize that all that's happened is we have men and women who've bastardized, totally, utterly screwed up our direct sensory connection with life itself, which would have started with our parents, the real ones, which they would never, the ones pre. And so from that, there has been this, that's why I use that word. I haven't used it for a while in your show, but you have this flag, which is called the Pax Romanus. And your Canadian flag will be a Pax Romanus. The Australian flag will be a Pax Romanus. The American flag will be a Pax Romanus, because it's a peace treaty amongst the slaves and the conquerors. But you're still conquered. Your brain has been controlled. And they're still harvesting you and harvesting your life energy, and the children that you produce will be harvested and used and abused to perform in the fiction, because all they offer of these people is fiction. They have no super intelligence on offer, because to do that means that everyone's free and no one would want to follow anyone else or work for anyone else that way, because you're conscious, you're truly conscious. But because you're not, and you've been artificially inseminated into the idea of consciousness, and in this day and age, but the heritage of this fallen state is what we're still tapping into, where this number 9 and number 1 and whatever the words and the meanings, that you can find 1,001 of these people talking right now on X.com and Facebook.com and on and Instagram and everywhere else, YouTube, everywhere else. They are entertainment. It's entertainment to who they are, and it's entertainment to everyone else who's trapped in the cult with them or who've become part of that cult. Just because we've had invasion and 200 years of non-disclosure, non-full disclosure of the methods used to turn us into drones, whether it was overt slavery or covert slavery, it doesn't matter, across those thousands of years where all this shit has been going on. All that's happening here along the way, you get intelligence operatives who start to reveal the disclosure of the previous old methods, because they are given insights into the tactics that were used inside the Freemasonic lodges, inside the initiation when they were risen up to higher levels, right, where all the truth of all these things were being revealed. But because someone like David Icke comes out, he's not the only one, there's thousands of them. And I could have been one of them too if I wasn't careful and didn't realize what the hell was going on. I could have been caught up in this as well. The disclosure we provide about the past, which is just our brethren who we worship in the orders and the societies that we are part of, then allows us to create the new unconsciousness that we are not realizing what we're being caught up in, because we're going from one, like the gates have been opened up, we've been let out thinking we're coming to freedom, into another enclosure, right? We can call it green earth, and we can call it one world, and we can give it all the wonderful words. We can call it, like Canada's going to merge with America and Mexico. I knew about this from the Trilateral Commission more than 20 years ago, and the Bilderbergers and the the British Institute of National Affairs. I mean, I'm very seasoned in a lot of this stuff. I saw this from a long time ago. Donald Trump's carrying exactly the next stage of the plan, because the disclosure of all what's now sexual abuse and all the other things going on is part of the way that it's been applied to deceive people into accepting the next change, not realizing they're going to be enslaved again in another enclosure, in fiction, to be used and abused, raped, pillaged, and plundered. But they will think that they're conscious and that they're free and that they're doing the right thing, that they're part of some modality that's important, not seeing the cult for what it is. So you've got to watch out for all these people, including this man, that you're not being deceived into going from one enclosure into another, because I'm not creating a kingdom to be an enclosure. This is to go back before all the shit started to recreate those lives. I know how to do it. I have the answers to all this stuff. I've been gifted it. Some people would have called me a prophet in an old life. They would have called me a Messiah and a Savior in another life. I'm not. I'm just a man who doesn't want to live that. Who doesn't want to support it. I just want to live and I want to be amongst real brothers and sisters who want to live like that too. Where we stop abusing each other and stop abusing others, and we learn to undo it. We can gradually undo it as quick as we possibly undo it, get out of there. And don't get caught up, because these people, all through the generations, are in here. Why are they in here? There's a reason, isn't it? Where do you think they get their power and control from? If they're not in here, can they control if they're not in here? If they don't exist and they're not in here, how can you be controlled?
So, Arthur, the idea of being stronger together is only making the system stronger, because we should operate from our own, each unique perspective, and find out the whole of life on our own.
It's very challenging because, we wake up and go to bed. Like Fiona, she still goes to the shops to buy various things. We still haven't got all our gardens up and running here because of other factors that have brought on this almost 27 acres that are on here on Ironbark Farm in Australia here. And but we are complicit because we're using so many things of the system that we need that have been controlled by private corporations, overseen by these occultists who control everything behind the scenes. The rule of law, government, religion, all these things. They are the ones controlling everything, and they're all in here. The law that they provide is in here. The fear porn is in here. The doubt and insanity is in here. It ain't all around us, because that super intelligence is only there around us. It's only in here. They will distort nature, and they'll create false idols, and they'll build all kinds of things, and they'll associate scripts and say, oh, that's dangerous and lethal and bad. And and I've been brought up being frightened of sharks, even though I surfed and all that. And I had snakes, and how many times my mother and my father dumped this on me, and here I am learning to realize, oh my God, that's a red-bellied black snake. It's actually not a dangerous creature at all. And I'm learning how to let it live in the garden here, 8 meters away from outside the house, moving around while it's eating mice and frogs, and knowing that it has no intention of ever harming me or us, but we still be vigilant where we're walking to make sure we don't have an accident where we walk on it, or create a startled situation that might frighten it. So it's this is all undoing. I arrived here on this property in October 22 with trepidation. I had a lot of fear. And I used to look at the doors and everything, and I was actually a bit paranoid. But it wasn't me. It was the childhood and all that was playing out. And I had to learn to address it. And so I came across a few Facebook groups that are dealing with snakes, and they were fantastic. And I learned so much about them, and it's brought me so much more peace. So I just got to keep working at it, keep working at trying to find that peace in everything, so I don't have to play out the stuff. So I have no interest in abusing other people. Sure, I'd like people to come here and work their asses off like we are and help to create the infrastructure of a community where once it's set up, we don't need anything outside anymore that way. It doesn't mean we're going to be closed off and be cultish. We just become fully responsible for our lives at the local level, where everyone knows each other, and we all dream for the greater good of each of us. Everything we're creating from that dream is beneficial to us, and we're raising each other up. We raise each other up in that good heart and all that virtue. We talk about it, but then we go to the shops. We are not being raised up. We're still, if you go to the vote and election, all that, you're just, it's staggering, the scale of this thing. But anyway, the superintelligence connection is to become aware of what is fiction and what is the superintelligence, and what we can do to reconnect with life itself, so that the snake communes directly with me and tells me its intention, tells me its purpose, and I know it ain't thinking, good, I want to get you one day and kill you because I want to eat you. I want to wipe out your family, move you all, and I want this whole place demolished because I don't want you here anymore. It doesn't think like that. It doesn't do things like that. Sure, we will change, and we may become more naked as the generations of this change happens, and we become back as Adam and Eve, amongst paradise, naked. No pride, no shame, and truly conscious, But can I also share one other thing that came to me then? We create the atmosphere, we create the weather, we create everything to our experience. All this distorted feelings is what creates the cyclones, creates the hurricanes, it creates the storms, it creates the earthquakes, everything happening, and we relate to some kind of natural phenomena or because of global warming and all that, is created by us. Because it can't escape. All that impurity that we are manifesting, as through the cults, is getting harnessed, and it needs to be fulfilled, right? It needs to be fulfilled and resolved. So it builds up. Now, did we have hurricanes and cyclones and all that in paradise? And I would say no. I don't think that we had any of these things. We didn't have ice ages and all that stuff. We didn't have, there's so many things going on about Earth and life that I just think are just so out of whack. Now, I can't prove it. To me, it's just a logical thing from scrutiny and contemplation to realize that when we are in that peace and calm, in that truly superintelligence and being that from the good heart, we're putting that out. There's no cyclones in that. There's no hurricanes in that. There's no threat to life that we are part of. We've created it. And because we all breathe the same air across Earth, we are affecting everybody. So even though I'm here and I'm breathing in and out, if I have bad intentions and I'm putting it out there, I'm going to affect you and your family. And you're breathing in the water, you're going to pick up my intentions if you're susceptible to it. I could have you manipulated remotely and you wouldn't even know that I'm doing it to you. Now, I have done that through the internet over the years, putting these insights out there. I know it's spread. I know it's reached millions of people. And I know they've tried everything to shut this down. There's a lot of people who are resonating. Sometimes they need to reconnect again. Some people go, oh, we haven't heard from Arthur for years, and they need to reconnect because we can get so sucked in spite of our good heart. And then we go, oh my God, I've just been trapped in another one. I've gone down another rabbit warren. So I don't claim to own anything or anything, and I don't do this work out of wanting something back. I always give it out freely. And the more I can hold that dream and live and be that peaceful man and live that life and learn to heal all the trauma that I went through, the more the dream here is being energized because I'm directing it all into that paradise kingdom dream that I'm living for. If I hold distorted intention and I put that into this kingdom dream, I'm corrupting this dream, which is what we've done with life amongst the tribes and from paradise to this mess. This is exactly what we've done. We dreamt it. So that's why they're in here, to shape our dreams, to shape the distorted feelings, to make us forget about the purity. I've had so many people come to me over the years, Yannick, and I talk about kingdom and all that, and they say, it's literally like they're putting a patting on my shoulder. Oh, that's a beautiful dream, Arthur. It's a wonderful dream. But come on, mate, you got to come back now. Come on, come back. You got to get on. Utopia is just a fantasy, Arthur. That's how gone these people are.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I'm serious. It's just amazing how many times that's happened. But are you prepared to work 24/7, get up and go to bed and put all your energy into a real community dream? Because that's where the power is, in a way of life where none of this is being played out. Now, that can happen in multiple places all across Earth, because how it was. But we got to do that again. So people are welcome if they're prepared to not play out the shit, not play out the ego and all that centralization of self and self-centeredness and narcissism and all that. We're capable of doing the extraordinary very quickly. Are we prepared to sacrifice what we own, to let it all go for the greater good of a real kingdom dream that we don't own, but we are responsible as custodians for it, to make sure that everything is looked after and it's passed on to the generations, and that every man, woman, and child has space, and yet they also are conscious of the responsibilities they have to live for the greater good of the dream that they're living for. Because that's where our labor should be all the time, 24/7, not surviving in the system of one day, if only. But I'll do that. Look, there's amazing the amount of things we do. But it means all our energy is still going into the system and the cults of that system. And we're giving it power. And then we wonder why shit's happening and why things we have no control over. Because we've done it. We've participated in that outcome. We didn't have a big enough picture than all of that to say, okay, I'm going into community life and undo it all. And start living like that and start building and constructing like that and doing all those things for that way of life. But, look, when we walk away from the self and the I and the me and the mine and what's in it for me, and all, when we forget the narcissism, when we can walk away from it all, we are already capable of the extraordinary happening here and now through the superintelligence that fills up that space where once it was pushed away. And we get to know the true heart. And when we work through that true heart in co-creating with others, we embrace them with those virtues, all those good heart virtues of kindness and compassion and empathy and confrontation, because that's a very important virtue too. Not to harm, but to confront. Like a good immune system to a disease trying to knock on your door, wants to come in and kill you, take your leg and an arm, whatever. The immune system should be like an elephant going. Love, not as in aggression, but
Anyway, just maybe to finish our talk today, maybe also you said it's possible that, but it's very possible for me and true that the event happening with the weather and stuff, the cyclones, the hurricane, and all that comes from us. So then, do we have a possibility to manipulate the elements and let the rain appear if we want, or create anything we want out
yeah,
of the heater?
yeah.
If
Because
we
once we connect with the superintelligence, all that's there available to us to work with. The
but
whole
this
of life, the power of life is in our hands if we handle the responsibility of it again, which means that you can't do it through narcissism, you can't do it through the ego, and you can't do it through fictional thinking. That doesn't work. All that goes to the dark side of man-made delusion. It's all man-made delusion, illusion. It's all fantasy. But the real one, the superintelligence, as we work with that, we can direct our intentions, our heart, our feelings to whatever we dream. If you want to create rain, you can create it. I have no doubt whatsoever about any of this. Because, see, the whole system is a prosthetic made up of many prosthetics that we are using while we're compensated for giving up our true superintelligence, because our superintelligence can do everything. But the prosthetics of the system is now, we have to use mobile phone and technology and Wi-Fi and all that so we can commune. We actually can commune with each other through the water of our breath. We don't need to do all this. It may not be at the speed of chattering and all the alphabet chattering, but we would do it through pictures and images and would have the same powerful outcome. So, that's a prosthetic. Your mobile phone's a prosthetic. Money is a prosthetic. The power of money is a prosthetic, because nature and the abundance of life itself is the real one. And we all have the capacity to create abundance and magnificence and take care of beauty. and nurture creatures and all living things, and allow that super intelligence to just expand as the man that we are. Because that's all the thing that's changing. We're changing. Nature's not changing. The effects of what we cause to nature will change because we will stop harming it.
Yeah.
But the true nature is already, that super intelligence is already still here. The super intelligence in all the stars. It's not in the astrology, numerology, and all this other stuff. But hey,
Wow.
that's just.
That's profound. That's profound. Okay, so I think for today, Arthur, we have covered a lot of what we wanted to bring up. Uh, Maybe we can get back together again, maybe during Saturday, something like that, if you want, if you're available, if you have more
There's,
stuff
we've
to
we've
bring up.
got there's predicted a lot of rain coming over this next 3-4 days. So I won't be outside as much slashing. I go out and do a lot of slashing, and I do a lot of hand mowing because there's a 1 acre yard around the house, and there's 26 something acres, or about 23 of that has to be looked after. We've got 2 horses on here for now, so I'm busy. I'm regularly busy during the day. And by doing these videos, I want to complete. I don't want to do much more work on the internet anymore. I want to
No,
make
no, I
this.
know.
There is someone else has contacted me who wants to also maybe do another podcast or two, but I'll direct them to these with you and see if they still want to do it. But look, if one sees these and goes, "Wow, this is what I'm inspired to do," and they take the responsibility, and if they want to come and do it with us, well, contact us and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
And see, because it's still a lot of responsibility to. So in the meantime, I'm looking after what we've got here to make it tidy as best I can. I get others who come and help me sometime, who help me collecting. I mean, if there's people out there who's watching this want to come and help, there's a lot of foliage, a lot of tree foliage we need to clear up because we get big winds and we've had storms and stuff. And then I can run the smaller, what we call a razorback slasher, that I sit on, and I go through and clean up and maintain it. And we see how much more beauty, because what's happening as we do slashing and more slashing and more slashing, we're building up the carbon profile of the land. We're starting to build up moisture as the carbon breaks down, and the grass growing through the carbon, knitting, it starts to build up all that, and it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. Then you're bringing up the water table. And once you start doing that, you've got, eventually you start seeing springs appearing again. We'll start seeing streams appearing again that weren't here for a long time. Because once we took down the big tall trees, we used to have massive, like in America and Canada, so we had the massive pine trees, the really big, massive trees, and we took them down, the cedars and all that, exposed the eucalypt trees. And from that, it's we've ended up with a nightmare because deforestation, wood, chopping down wood, and that's created an environment with saplings everywhere, just coming up all over the place. And there's chaos. But
Eucalyptus trees, you said?
Say that again.
Eucalyptus trees, you said? You have?
I'm
These
not
are
saying
huge.
no. I haven't. No, I'm not. I've seen the beginning of what is a spring is starting to appear. What it does, I don't know. But the more we keep doing it, the more we can get access to source materials to build up that carbon profile. And as we plant more trees in appropriate areas, for you see, pre the invasion of the Western world here, we didn't have clutter, we didn't have bushfires as such. We didn't need to. The moisture content was so rich, there was no fires all year round. We didn't need them. I spoke to a few traditional elders who told me this too, passed down through their ancestors. But common sense shows me that as well. Once we can start fixing these things again, we start. So that's why I use the slasher. I have to use these fictions to go out there and keep chopping down new seedlings coming through that we don't want there. But then there's the weeds and the grasses, and like right now, I'm cutting through probably about 1.5 to 2 feet thick, maybe more. It could even be almost a meter thick of grass now. So if the machine's working harder, it has to slash through it. It's a powerhouse. It's a small little machine, but it's a powerhouse.
Yeah.
And you can see the amount of this because you're talking about all the natural sugars, we're talking about all the biodiversity that's in all these things that we're cutting, and that's all going into the earth, and it's breaking down as the carbon and the grass that's starting to regrow through it all. And you have up to 80 different grasses. Now I don't know how many different grasses we have here, and maybe we have to buy more grass seeds to spread through it to introduce more different grasses because they come and go at different times.
Yeah.
But that's what we do, and then from that that becomes the sweeping green fields that we build the food forests on top, and we build the swales where if we do need to use swales, or whether we run other kind of systems, because there's many different ways, and there's the big one is the waterways to create a keyline kind of waterway system, so that we have many different billabongs, what you call dams, to have the water moving through the property everywhere. So you're hearing that sound of water moving all the time.
Yeah.
And then from that to add and build, and then from that, recreating there's permaculture involved. We're sure there's all these other things inside our head, but maybe more and more will just come to us that nature of this land will tell us. I'm looking out as I'm talking to you. I'm just looking out through the windows. But,
Living the dream in real time.
Yeah, and wanted to share that with others, and to help who want to come and carry the workload and build this thing up. So that's what this is all about, and this is really all that really matters, is to creating this kind of recreation of feathered friend environments, native habitats, swimming holes, amazing swimming holes where you can go swimming and relax, and waters where horses can go and swim, and we have horses that go into the deeper dams now by themselves. There are all these things, and I just sit there and I just get inspired, Not always, because my head sometimes I'm getting concerned about things, and I get bogged down in the fiction.
We all do at times, for sure.
Yeah, I know. But that's what this is all about, And so I want to really, I feel like I've said enough. I hope for maybe another couple of videos. So if you want to do another one, I don't know when you want to do it, but I'm happy to.
I'll put the topics on paper.
Ideally this week.
What I would like to touch with you, I'll put it on paper, send it to you, and you can start articulate your reflection around this.
We can just trust what comes up. But I will have some free time during this week because of the rain coming, and a lot of rain. So if you want to do it during this week, let's do it.
Yeah, we can do it.
If you want to cut out all this chat, from the video, it's up to you, mate. I don't mind. But
no, because I'll be doing some reels also with them, little shorter videos. So maybe I'm sure we can bring some other stuff up. I have things in my head that I didn't even tell you tonight. So for sure,
your heart is so beautiful, mate, that you give me so much space that I can just, you allow me so much room for me to just bring out whatever it is that's inspiring me, and on I go. And I really respect that you do that, because it wouldn't happen without you participating in it like this, for allowing me to do that kind of gifting, because I have practiced at least since 2005, but it goes right back to 1972, when I started getting exposed to the occults and bookshops and stuff, and I was doing things when I was 14, 15.
Sure,
it's a long story.
I was born a year after that.
And I've still got a lot of, I'm going through health issues that I have been stricken with because of what I mentioned earlier in this video, and other things. There's other childhood things, and there's attitude things. And we're always working away trying to change and let go, change, let go. Doesn't mean we have victim mentalities as such. You just got to trust. In my case, I've been learning to relax, really just relax. It doesn't matter if I've gotten more obese or I've gotten more weight. I'm actually just relaxing. I'm starting to realize that all these years, 60 odd years, more than 60, the traumas of my mother and father, and them fighting and screaming and pushing and working in the shop, and this went on and on and on all through my life and through business. And I've been operating on adrenaline, running this ego, and performing
like
this.
That for a lot of us until we start to relax and slow down.
Exhausting. So that's why I've had these range of insights that I'm sharing with you now, because I've had time to give myself space, still passionate about, and finding other means to communicate, a way to describe these insights.
Yeah, I'll set another one up for maybe next Tuesday if you want.
If you want to.
Next
Okay.
Tuesday, same
Okay.
same day. Next
We'll
Tuesday,
we'll,
same
we'll touch
hour, same
we'll
time.
touch wood. We'll touch wood on that closer to the time and see how we're
Yeah,
going.
that's it. I'll get back to you before, no? But that would
Okay.
be great to have you again. It's always it's a life experience. Just to hear your voice and hear the wisdom coming out of you. For me, it's gold. It's gold. It's more than gold. It's all the pile of gold in the world together. It's golden, and I think you should really let it out, Arthur, while you're still in that window and you're still there, alive with us. So definitely, I want to bring you back on. If I could do that every month with you, I would do it. No problem.
Well, there's only
So
so much we can talk about. If
that's
anything, we
it.
really
We
got to
said it
start.
last time too. There's only
The best
so
thing to
much.
do is start putting videos of the actual project works we're doing on the land and showing people what
Yeah.
actually is happening. That's more powerful because we're actually in, and then the people that are involved in the doing of this thing is where the real power of that super intelligence starts coming through. Because those who come with the dream to hold it and live for that and want to create a tribe out of the mismatch of what's been done, we're all being uprooted from our original motherlands. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
we're all basically what we call would you call it immigrants? We're all strangers on our own lands. You know,
Alienated. We are the aliens here on Earth. Like it
we are
feels
the
to me
aliens,
like
mate.
we're all alienated from our true nature. So
Yeah.
anyway,
So when we
we'll touch on those topics. Self awareness. Also, I want to talk more about self awareness. Eh ben, tabarnak, encore envie le TruMon. Yeah, yeah. Someone in French in the chat.
all power to you, mate.
Il dit
Send
ah
you lots
ben,
of love.
tabarnak, encore envie le TruMon. Yeah, yeah. Not
And
getting
Fiona sends you lots of love too, bro. She really loves you
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It's all love. It's always
Yeah,
been love. So,
you're a real
Arthur,
sweetheart.
yeah, delight again to have you here and put more light on those topics for us. And I got more. I got more. We're gonna touch more stuff together, definitely.
Okay, man.
So, large up, everyone. Again, it's an honor to have the privilege to even be here on YouTube. To me, that's not my channel. It belongs to YouTube. That thing, that's not mine. But I take this as a privilege that I'm able to do this and talk to you guys with Arthur and many others. So I will not abuse that privilege. Boom. I'm out. See ya.
See you, mate.